Welcome to 9394, a music podcast. I am Travis Roy, and I hope you're doing good. I love talking to my buddy Steve Guile about just about anything, but getting to talk to him about Frank Black, a musician who we both love deeply, that was extra fun. Steve is more than just a really old friend and returning guest to the show. He has a podcast of his own called Is It Safe? That he does with my co-host Mike Govier from Cinema 9. And Luke Horlbeck, two dear friends of mine who have also been on this show, so check that out. We got into the album Teenager of the Year from 1994. Enjoy.
Tattoo Leech, good to see you.
Hi.
Hello there.
We did it. We're here.
Party
time. What are you drinking?
Two Hearted.
I need to just stop asking. It's the only good beer around you, so that's all you're going to drink.
Yeah, that's easily accessible in the peninsula. I can go to the Total Wine, but their selection's been shit lately.
Which you've been saying that for like a year, so
yeah,
it's long lately.
They're not even getting like good North Carolina beers anymore.
I'm drinking Founders has a new Pilsner. Really clean, really good.
Nice.
How was work?
Work. Listen to podcasts and audiobooks and music and
all right.
Put numbers and letters in a machine.
I see that Is It Safe has a new episode. I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet, though.
Yeah, we recorded last night.
I get on these streaks where I'm like emailing you guys. Like I email you guys like once, and then like something happens. I'm like, well, I gotta respond to that.
Right, yeah.
I get like these trends like, okay, I gotta stop. I'm like emailing them like every fucking week.
No, emails are welcome. That's the best part of the show.
It is what kind of makes the show go in some ways. So you've been on the show before. We don't need to rehash how you and I know each other, but suffice it to say that we've been friends since 1994, probably? Does that sound about right?
Ever since our school days at Cherry Pats upon Buttocks. Been about that long, yes.
You are the one who is a pee-pee head.
How dare you, how dare you.
Yeah, Wrongfully Accused, 1997. I watched that with you, I believe, the first time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you were always a big part of my life throughout high school. We got into our 20s and continued to be good friends, dropped off for about a decade, and then reconnected recently.
Sure.
You heard the sound today. There she blows, you saw the wind a-shining. You don't know, you felt a tree that does fall. You don't know, that's okay. You don't have much taste for bouquet. I'm bold of the valleys, I'm bold of the peaks. So I bought a ticket to the freaks. I saw a chicken with two heads. Saw something else that was headless.
We're talking Frank Black today. My second round of Frank Black, which I don't think will be my last. I do think we'll probably touch on Cult of Ray on this show at some point, even though it's like 96, I think. But fuck it. It's Frank Black from that general era. But this is kind of the granddaddy of his albums, at least according to a lot of people. This seems to be the most widely beloved of his albums. Is it your favorite Frank Black album?
Yeah, including Pixie stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my just favorite Frank Black experience.
The Frank Black Experience.
Now at Universal Studios, Florida.
A lot of space-themed stuff going on there.
True.
I would imagine.
And like La Brea tar pits.
Yeah, very California-based and space-based. Yeah. That seems to be his general MO.
There's a museum about water usage rights. Old deeds and plats.
The land that we're standing on, it used to belong to the Navajo.
Navajo!
Used to be Mexico.
Juan Wayne.
My favorite album, as I said in the last episode, my favorite album of his has always been his self-titled album. And I think I would include that amongst the Pixies stuff, too. That first self-titled album is my favorite Frank Black album. But this album, weirdly, I never really spent that much time with. I've always just kind of like needed time to process an album. And whenever an artist releases an album and then like a year later releases another album, I'm like, I can't process this. This is too much. I'll check in on the next album, which is pretty much what I did with this album. I had it, or Judd did, my brother. I listened to it. I spent time with it back in the day. But as I got older, if I was listening to Frank Black, I would throw on the first album, or I'd throw on Cult of Ray or some of his later stuff like Honeycomb. So I really hadn't spent much time with this album in recent years.
All right. It's been in solid rotation for me for since it came out.
I don't remember really talking much Frank Black with you back in the day, though. Do you? Did we talk about this kind of stuff?
No, I think we talked more, whatever, skate punk shit. Talked a lot more about that, probably. But I think it's possible you introduced me to Frank Black.
Yeah, it's possible. Who knows? I mean...
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was out at my house a lot between me and my brother, so it's possible. But also... we all kind of listened to skate punk, like you say, but there was always this foundation of indie stuff that we all kind of were into as well. We just didn't talk about it as much.
Sure.
I guess because we were all pretty myopic 15-year-olds and whatnot.
Yeah. Built to Spill, Frank Black.
Right.
Yeah. The more I listen to it, the more I like it, I think. It's definitely gone up in listens for me over the years.
Yeah, your appreciation has grown over time.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much variety on the album because there's fucking 22 songs.
22 songs. He's always kind of playful, I think, in genre, but a little bit extra maybe on this album. I don't remember any other album that he kind of like stuck his toes into reggae, for instance, besides this album.
Yeah, COD reggae.
Yeah, it's Frank Black reggae, but it's his own way of doing it. Which song is the reggae one? Hang on, let me think. Don't tell me. The reggae one is, don't tell me. Fiddle Riddle.
Got it.
But machines moved on and still chased no particular place. Hear the riddle that I say. Hear the riddle that I say. What is fair is fair. That is fair and square to me, to me, to me, to me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
So what is your favorite song on this album now?
Speedy Marie, hands down.
Had a bit part, and in the wheel, it always played in slow-mo. But now it's fast, a spinning wheel. I know the dynamo. My heart is cast. Speedy Marie, ahead of the now. She's better built, that's how. She's built for speed. Speedy Marie, Speedy Marie.
Hands down?
Yeah, my favorite love song. My favorite romance.
Romant. Don't hear that word often, but I am talking to Steve Guile.
Oh, it's in the song, too.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. I have to agree with you. This is a 22-song album, as we've said like 6 times already. I think that you and I can kind of bend the rules a little bit and maybe pick 2 favorites for this album because there's so many songs. And I would choose that to be one of my favorites as well.
She's better built, that's how. She's built for speed. Speedy Marie, Speedy Marie. Juxtaposed in each moment's sight. Everything that I ever saw. And my one delight.
just such a feel-good song. And it's funny because it's followed by the big single, Headache. So I think that maybe I kind of looked over it before. I don't know that it was underrated for me, but it was definitely one that I kind of didn't love as much until listening to it more recently. I'm like, oh yeah, this is maybe the best jam on the album if I had to choose.
It just warms my heart every time that it almost sounds like pedal steel, but I know it's not.
Are you sure it's not?
I'm sure because I watched videos. Just I tried to check liner notes to see if they brought in a guy who does pedal steel, but
just slide.
Yeah, I saw him play it live. It's not even really slide. I think it's just the scale. It sounds like a pedal steel scale.
Oh, he's like doing harmonics.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Wow. Maybe he's a underrated guitarist, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if it's him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. What's the personnel on this album? Did you look into it? I did not.
Yeah, they got Eric Drew Feldman from like Captain Beefheart and Per Ubu.
Oh, okay.
He's got a lot to do with why this album is so good. He plays the keys. He plays like anything that's not just part of like a straight 4-piece is Feldman on this one.
Gotcha.
And he also... I watched an interview with Frank Black, like a more recent one, now that he looks like he just walked off the set of The Departed. He looks like a fucking Boston capo. Like a tracksuit and like big pasty jewelry on. Sunglasses.
That's funny.
He said this was like the last album that he did where the studio was just like, you know, fuck it. We got so much money. Spend as much time in the studio as you want to. Obviously, they did. But Frank wasn't writing lyrics. He was just noodling around and, like, you know, playing around with fucking cod reggae. So they finally were like, oh, okay, well, I know he's going to do his, you know, space-themed weirdo rock lyrics. So Eric Feldman and I think one of the other guys came up with their own space-themed lyrics and then started singing them while Frank was playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got pissed. He's like, no. I'm going to do it my way.
Little reverse psychology on the big baby.
Yeah, they had to coerce him to finally start writing lyrics. And they actually did start to run out of studio time. I think they did like all the lyrics in like the last 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you can tell from the composition that like they definitely had time to put this together.
Oh, yeah. I wonder, like, did anything end up on the cutting room floor? It seems like everything they wrote may have ended up here. I have no way of knowing that, but 22 songs seems like... I mean, that's excessive. It's excessive. And towards the end of the album, I do think it starts to kind of meander a little bit where it starts to be like, okay, you're kind of losing me towards the end. I like Big Red, but kind of everything after that kind of starts to warble for me a little bit. I think that my least favorite track on this album is probably I Could Stay Here Forever.
Now we're hanging in tandem 6 trillion miles a year. How can direction be random when you're so near? I could stay here forever. I could stay here forever. Oh, and I'm never bored with this olive board. And I could stay here forever.
It's not a bad song. It just kind of just seems like filler on an album that has so much more creativity and spontaneity going on in it. That song just feels like threw it away in an afternoon kind of thing, you know?
Okay.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he fucking labored over it. I don't know. And maybe I wouldn't be as picky about it if it wasn't an hour-long album. My attention span is only so long.
Well, first, I Could Stay Here Forever is... like, that's me with this album. I could stay with this album forever. And that's another Tar Pits one. So I guess I'm stuck in the Frank Black pits.
Is there a weakest track on this album for you?
I mean, if I was going to say one was the worst, probably Phaser Eyes.
Staring on into night, complete synapse. I switched on something I did not see.
It's not bad, but it's sort of, I don't know. it's got a boring motif, but then the bridge is awesome. Like, it reminds me of, there's like an Esperanza Spalding song called Rest in Pleasure that like is just repetitive, boring motif, and then it busts into this like Sunny Day Real Estate sounding bridge, like which you would not expect from a jazz singer. It's got this great like beefy drums played by Justin Tyson, who's like getting up there on my favorite drummers list. But yeah, it's worth it for the bridge, but the rest of the song is kind of
That seems to be kind of a thing with Frank Black, because his songs, there's so much diversity within each song that he writes, that if there's ever a part that comes up, you're like, this isn't my favorite part of the album here, like wait 5 seconds and you're going to have a shift of gears, and it's probably going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phaser Eyes is kind of like I was saying, that's kind of like when, other than Big Red, I think that's when things kind of start to tilt towards, and like, I'm not sure how much focus I have as a listener anymore at this point. Again, there's not a bad song in this album. There's just so many songs to me that stand out. I picked like 4 or 5 songs to be like my favorite song. There's a lot of songs that stand out, and so the ones that kind of are more middling on an album this lengthy, I guess it becomes more apparent to me, which maybe I'm nitpicking, but that's also like this part of the podcast where I'm trying to figure out what are the weak points of the album.
Yeah, well, it doesn't trail off for me at all. I love the whole thing. It seems like there's kind of a palindrome structure to it, where they try to get the songs that were most alike farthest away from each other. Like Whatever Happened to Pong and Pie in the Sky kind of have the same tempo.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
I don't know if that's like a true thing or if I'm just thinking that, but that's kind of how I feel about it. This is one of those that, like, I'll put in the car and go on a road trip and not realize I listened to the whole album twice, because it's so seamless from Pie in the Sky right back to Whatever Happened to Pong when you get like the single disc changer in the car. And because there's so much variety and it's so long, like, I'm ready to hear that song again, even though I just heard it 45 minutes ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, Frank Black is definitely one I've taken on some road trips. You don't really get sleepy listening to his music or like mesmerized by the road or anything, because again, there's just so much variety and stuff going on. You're going to be kept pretty entertained.
Yeah, a lot of it is sing-alongy too.
Yeah.
So you can do your Frankie Okie, or I guess he says Karuki on the album, so to be Frank Cookie.
Well, speaking of, that is my underrated track on this album, is Calistan.
Down one street, the radio on, tuned to the big fleet. Invisible planes, a crack in the concrete. That's just what some people say. Hey, hey. I put down my blanket on Cigarette Butt Beach. I saw the old man, he was doing okay. He's making his last stand on old bottles and cans around there, Calistan way. Hey, hey.
In part because of the use of, my best friend is the king of karaoke. That's just an incredibly good line. And I already referenced the Navajo thing. Lyrically, it's just a really interesting song, but it works well with what's happening with the music as well. And it's definitely one that, like, I had totally almost forgotten about. When I thought of this album, I would think of Abstract Plane and Big Red, like I already mentioned. I'd think of like a few specific songs, but there's so many songs that, like, some songs kind of like dipped out of my radar when I wasn't listening to it for a long time. And so it was almost like a new song to me, but listening to the album, it was like, what the fuck, this song? Oh, hey, how did this not grab me when I was younger? But I guess, it's been 30 years or whatever, so...
Yeah, it's one of the songs that's like most emblematic of the entire album. It's got like those glorious crescendos and very clean decrescendos and yeah,
vague references to California.
Yeah, Santa Ana winds. St. Anne's making it breezy.
What's your underrated track on this bad boy?
Underrated, Hostess with the Mostest.
inch long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see where it could kind of like go under someone's radar.
Yeah, it goes fucking hard in like less than 2 minutes, and it's got like a riffy psych out intro, and then sandwiched in the end is like the circus outro, and it's like the chocolate frosting on the cake, and then there's a jumpy tempo with metal style close harmonies and a halftime breakdown or that craveable cream filling. And listener, Travis would be the first to tell you, if she's the hostess with the mostest, then why isn't she a fucking little Debbie Swiss cake roll? All y'all ho-hos can relocate to another area code.
I wish I could say it's been a long time since I've bought any Swiss cake rolls, but I recently discovered strawberry Swiss cake rolls.
Oh my God.
Oh, shit. So I bought those for a little while. I was like, okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop the fucking Little Debbie.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, nothing will make you feel worse about yourself at the grocery store than purchasing Little Debbie products. I like processed food. Ah.
It was easier when my mom was picking them up for you.
Exactly.
I love that she knew to get Little Debbie instead of a hostess.
Yeah, your mom always kept me pretty good in snacks when I was over there for band practice.
Going back to Hostess with the Mostest, like the pace of the song mimics like the highs and lows of the consumer's experience. Like, you know, the heavy anticipation, and then like you gotta spend the money, do whatever you're doing, and then like you kind of have that empty feeling afterward, like kind of feel like a clown, like because you just spent all this money and what do you really have? But that was written about the Del Amo Mall in Torrance, California, which was the world's largest shopping mall until 1992's opening of the Mall of America. And both of those malls are owned and operated by the Simon Property Group. And you and I are both acquainted with the Simon family. Do you remember how?
Oh my God, we've been in their home?
We have been in Herb Simon's mansion.
Wow, that was his name?
Yep.
I have told that story so many times. All I knew was that you took me to a friend of yours who was dating some rich girl.
Rachel Simon.
And we went into this house, and all I knew about the dude was that he owned the Pacers.
Yep.
And they had two giant portraits, like paintings of the husband and the wife, like right when you walked in. We met everyone but him, right? We met the two children and the mom while we were there.
I don't think her older sister was there when we were there.
Oh, okay.
We definitely hung out with her little brother. He had like this sweet punk rock collection.
Yeah, we were like the first people that he'd ever met that were like real life punk rockers, because he was like surrounded by hip hop and all that kind of scene in his life, it looked like. And then so rich that he had a fucking building, a guest house just devoted to instruments and shit.
Yeah, there's like an octagonal like pool house that had like the top floor was like a kitchen and like one bedroom apartment, and then the bottom floor was a music studio kitted out with fucking everything.
All for like this 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, and he had every CD. There wasn't a CD he didn't have. He was happy to get ours because we gave him a copy of ours.
I liked him.
Yeah.
He was a sweet kid. I hope he's doing well. He didn't seem super happy, but who does at 13?
Son of a billionaire, I'm sure he's doing fine.
I'm sure he's doing just fine. But that was one of my big takeaways from the house. And sorry to the Simon family if I'm wrong about this, but man, I really felt like a pall was over. Like, this seemed like a really unhappy house. I remember being there just being like, everyone just seemed really fucking depressed here for being the richest people I've ever met.
Remember how fucking sterile the foyer was? Like, you walk in and it's fucking like Corinthian marble everything, and then up on a pedestal is this giant fucking Steinway. The only person who ever played it, according to Asher, the youngest son,
that was his name, was
one of the maids. One of the maids was like really good at piano, so this is the only time it would ever get fucking used.
Wow.
And then off of that was like one of, I don't know, 25 kitchens in the house or something. And then that kitchen had like the gas station doors full of like, you know, whatever Snapple and like Gatorade and whatever else you'd see in a gas station, but it had like the big glass doors.
Yeah, hands down the most wealth I've ever been around in my life. It was one evening, and I never forgot it.
And Rachel had another portrait of her mom that was commissioned from Andy Warhol.
That's right.
She had one of the Warhol like 4-panel paintings of her mother like just hanging out in her bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
None of the walls were like sheetrock. They were all like fucking satin and like embroidered and shit.
I don't remember that detail, but
yeah,
I believe you. And your friend was not wealthy. He was like us. He was just like a fucking dude. He was just like some lower middle class dude. I don't know how the hell they met, but he fucked that up if he didn't marry her.
Oh, he definitely fucked that up very soon after we were there.
Shock.
Yeah.
Shock. You still talk to him? We lose track with him.
I haven't talked to him since probably around that time.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, his older brother was, first time I met him, he was buying us liquor when we were like 15. And he just had like a gun in his waistband, tons of drugs.
These guys that you had hung out with before moving up to Michigan, where you met all of us, like going down there with you is like, hey, let's go hang out with these guys. They're gonna, sell fake weed that will give you a headache that makes you want to kill yourself because it's so bad. They're going to spray paint everything poorly. Just badly with their tags.
Right.
These fucking white 16-year-olds and maybe like 20-year-olds, but it was like over the course of a few years that you and I would go back there. And they were always very friendly towards us, but they were also just like, not our kind.
Dumb shitheads.
Yeah, so that one of them would wind up with the richest person I've ever seen. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know.
This wrinkle in time can't give it no credit. I thought about my space. Now really got me down. I got me so down, I got me a headache. My heart's crammed in my cranium, and it still knows how to pound. I was counting the rings, and I fell into a sleep. I peeked to see if you were way back when.
How do you feel about Headaches?
That would be, if I had to choose an overrated song, it's the only one that I know that like anyone else knows.
Yeah.
I just think the rest of the album deserves as much attention as Headache. I don't think it's any better or worse than any other song on the album. It's probably in my top 5, 6 in the album.
Yeah, so it's high up there, but not the best song on the album.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of torn. I ended up not making it one of my favorite songs, but yeah, it's probably like number 3 or 4. It's pretty high up there. But it is funny that this is the song that probably just about everybody knows. If they know a Frank Black song, it's probably Headache, maybe Los Angeles, right? Those seem to be like the 2 big hits of his career.
Yeah, those were the ones that were on MTV. I think he played Headache and Sir Rockabye when he did 120 Minutes.
Really, Sir Rockabye? That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it was just him solo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Headache is, it was a pretty fun video, but when Jubb was on talking about Frank Black, we were commenting on California and space. The mind and head space and like all that kind of stuff also seems to be a real focus of Frank Black's, which I'd never really thought of before until Jubb brought it up. I'm like, yeah, that's totally right. He is kind of interior in some ways.
Yeah.
So, since there's 22 tracks on the album, I chose a second favorite song. I didn't tell you to, but I figured that you wouldn't have a hard time picking one. What's your second favorite song on the album, or next best favorite?
Oh, that riff on Freedom Rock is so fucking rad. Like, that's got to be my second favorite. And the lyrics remind me of like the movie High Fidelity.
Which, I mean, to me, it's a metaphor, right? Like he's talking about people critiquing his music and stuff, right? I mean, that's kind of what I got from it. Is that what you get?
To me, it sounded more like a Johnny Cash, like first-person narrative. I mean, it's called Freedom Rock, and I imagine it's the 1987 quadruple LP compilation that was distributed by Sessions Records. It pretty much aggregated popular songs like ChatGPT aggregates fingers for depictions of human hands.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with Freedom Rock.
Yeah, just what the fuck were they doing with these crazy, like they were just popular artists, but there was no like through line that would match any of these artists together. It was really just like a Chat GPT, like fucking, I don't know. Chat GPT, do pop music.
Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I think it's just saying that, like, oh, if you're the type of guy who likes this, like, you're not the cool guy we want to have come into our record store. Like, you can just imagine, like, the fedoras and the looks askance.
Have you ever been bullied like that at a record shop? I never have.
Every time I've been to a record shop, no, I have been by my friends.
Oh, yeah, by your friends, sure.
What are you doing? Why are you even in that section? I like world pop, man. But yeah, every time I'm at a record shop and I display like any sort of taste, it doesn't matter if it's something like a Billboard Top 100 or if it's something obscure. Like normally, like people who work at record shops are excited about music, and
exactly,
they're like, "Oh shit! If you like that, you're gonna like this."
Right? They're always like the chillest, like most like, cool people.
They will yes and any selection you make.
It's true. It's true. I think for my second favorite track on the album, oh, man, I really had a hard time choosing. I think I have to go with Ole Mulholland.
Oh yeah, I love that too.
It starts off so weird. You know, it ends so different. Maybe not so differently, but it ends differently than it starts. And it starts, it's so complex and kind of like, it's a very inorganic kind of intro, right? Like, it's just like this jilted kind of like all over the place kind of thing. And then it just kind of falls into like this much more conventional, ole, ole. You're like, you're just singing along. Like, it's a good feel-good song, you know? It's a fun one.
There it is! Take it! Like a real Daniel Plainview of water rights for old William Mulholland. It's really about the annexation of the San Fernando Valley's aquifer to provide a reservoir for the collection of water from the Owens River.
Why would he write a song about that?
Well, it was commissioned by the LA Board of Water, and it was like on the scale of the Panama Canal. So it's a huge reference, and also it references the St. Francis Dam collapse in 1928. And if you're a Black Francis, you got to write about the St. Francis Dam collapse.
I guess you do. Yeah, Ole Mulholland is a fun one, but the whole album is just fun. You're right. The low points are not very low and are not very long lasting, so it's a pretty fun ride that I really should have not stayed away from for so long, because in my mind, as a kid, I went from pretty much self-titled to Cult of Ray. When it's time for me to listen to Frank Black, those are the ones I think of, and I just really checked that out on this album for like a decade or more, so I'm glad you brought it back to my attention.
Yeah, it was great to talk about and even better to listen to.
Anything else from this album that you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I got fuck tons of notes, man.
Yeah, hit me.
I just love the way it starts off. It starts out with like 2 90-second songs. Mm-hmm. It just gets you in there right away. It's like greasing the wheels, and then it just hums along for the rest of the experience.
Yeah, that second song, was it Thalassocracy?
Thalassocracy.
Thalassocracy, thank you.
Rule by the sea.
I guess the fourth subject that he returns to the most, which is the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that,
yeah.
He's always thinking about space or the sea or the inner mind or California. These seem to be pretty much his main muses.
Oh yeah, and he's got like a galaxy view of like, he's talked about the sea. It's basically like an organic global revolution, like that's picturing like a time after humans. The humans are dead. That's right, they are dead.
Thank God. What other notes we got?
Abstract Plane.
I've had it with this town. I never saw those shifting skies.
might rethink his want to be on an abstract plane if he had seen Three Body Problem first.
I haven't caught that.
The Total Immersion Alien VR system.
I don't know what that means, but I feel like you just spoiled that show for me. I'm never going to watch it now.
Read the books. Way better.
It's been a long time since I've read a book.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got out of grad school, so I didn't have to read books anymore.
That's right. Book hiatus.
Yep. I'll come back to them someday. I'm reading a book right now. It's just taking me forever.
Yeah, The Vanishing Spies was about the Mars Observer Orbiter.
The Vanishing Spies. Something I read. A couple of eyes from out of the head, and all that was said. Well, that's just how some things don't materialize.
I'm not crazy about Vanishing Spies.
Yeah, that's fine.
The Vanishing Spies. I don't know. It just has a very crooner vibe that
Sure.
doesn't work for me.
Look at Dean Martin ripping a cocktail and then talking about the Mars Orbiter. This guy's a goof. Like in the 120 minutes, like he picks like, you know, Ween, Dead Milkmen, They Might Be Giants. And like this album reminds me of just like if Dire Straits met They Might Be Giants with Frank Black lyrics.
Yeah, I referenced Giants when my brother and I talked about the first album because I agree. I think there's something... They would pair well together on a show, right? They have like this ability to be goofy and serious at the same time, to like create legitimately good artistic work, even as they're just thumbing their nose at the whole fucking concept of being a serious musician, because it's just goof nort time. Like,
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of good similarities to draw between those bands. You could like throw Cake maybe in that mix as well. Less good, not as into Cake, but they're still like kind of goofy and serious at the same time.
Sure. But yeah, I thought he did tour with They Might Be Giants in like 1992 or something.
Easily could have. I mean, I would not be surprised by that at all.
And he said in the 120 minutes, I think it was, that they were his favorite band.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was so funny when I watched a few interviews and they would ask him like who his favorite bands. They always start with like the last three that he toured with, and then it would be like Ween, They Might Be Giants, Dead Milkmen, and then he would always like end by saying like, oh, and the Beatles and the Who.
Oh, right, and them too.
Just in case nothing else hit for you,
Right.
I'll throw you two bones.
You guys have heard of the Beatles, right?
Yeah. And Big Red, that I really love too. That was based in the Red Mars trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, as far as I can tell. Yeah, and I read that contemporaneously.
I thought it was about the gum.
Longer with Big Red.
Flowers in the green space, they're trying to make that place green. All the bees will take away the storm. All the trees will take away the storm. Don't know how this whole thing started. There was a crowd and then we parted. Don't know if I'll ever go back. It's a long way across all of this black. Here I am in my bucket today, in the middle.
I thought that was going to be my favorite song on the album, going back and listening to it. 'Cause when I was a kid, that was my big takeaway. That was the big one that I was most into. So I thought that would still feel the same. And it's still a great song, but it's not my favorite on there anymore.
Yeah, it's the one that gets all the libertarians hard for terraforming, because they'll admit that humans can cause climate change, but only if it's on another planet.
And maybe that's what it is. I don't really want to get into anything that gets libertarians hard.
Fireplace hard.
No, thank you. It's a big pass.
Oh, and then space is gonna do me good. Like he goes like, space is gonna do me good.
Yes, he does do
Do you
that.
think that a woo is like a Kim Deal cannonball flame?
Oh, wow. It didn't even cross my mind.
Taking a dig at Kimmy and Kelly?
Probably not. I don't think it is. I'm going to vote no on that.
All right.
you know, him and Kim would obviously share some of the same kind of influences and stuff, right?
Sure, but just like the sound of woo. I mean,
maybe.
Where does that come from? Unless like he just listened to the Breeders.
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't know anything about like famous people beef ever, or like, you know, who's married to who or anything
who
like
cares?
that. So yeah, I have fucking no idea that whole thing.
Me neither. I don't care.
All I know is I want to be in a Kim and Kelly Deal sandwich.
Cutting that out. Maybe not.
Oh yeah, with a white noise maker, he's just like crank the fuzz pedal, like the fucking ray gun all the way up, drown everything out. It's like taking a break from social media because it was
before it existed.
Well, it was written about the Telstar communication satellites. So he was like, I hope the orbits decay and we don't have to get all this fucking bad news all the time.
Yeah, he was really wrong.
Yeah, so I wonder how bad he has it out for fucking Starlink.
And turn up the 10. Or maybe the interior of somewhere like Siberia. Yeah, the yak is back again, like harvest moon over my head. Yes, it was that billboard post shining on me, and it shines because it's been so long since my tail star. I hope it crashes in the sea.
So these songs that you're telling me, like, they have a lot more meaning to them than is apparent on the surface when you listen to them.
Yeah, the most obscure one is Bad Wicked World. Is about a sci-fi show that ran on ABC for 2 seasons when old Charles Thompson was a toddler.
Jesus.
And like, I'm still attached to like the 3 seasons or 2.5 of Star Trek, the original series that I saw in syndication. So I could get making a whole song about like this crappy sci-fi show.
Yeah, I'm not judging, but I just find it all the more interesting that, as you say, they crammed the lyrics in the last couple of weeks because it seems like there was a lot more thoughtfulness to them. But I guess, you know, he's not a normal guy. He has a bigger, better brain than most of us, apparently. I mean, obviously, to be able to create this shit.
Yeah, it's super creative, and that's what keeps it interesting after all these listens. Last song I wanted to touch on was the Pie in the Sky at the end, which sounds to me like Frank Black's attempt at like a They Might Be Giants style song, like Where Does the Sun Shine or something like that. Which, Where Does the Sunshine was on Carmen Sandiego's Out of This World album, which was released in 1994, and I need to know if you're going to do that on this show.
I will if someone wants to do it. I mean, it's less about albums that I want to do than it is about albums that other people want to do, because there's all kinds of shit I thought I would do in the first couple of months of starting this podcast that no one's even expressed interest in yet. So
yeah, I looked it up. Lynn Thigpen, who was the chief, like, greetings, gumshoes.
Yeah.
she was a Broadway singer.
She's in some other stuff too. So, I mean, she like kept acting afterwards. She pops up and stuff now and then.
But she only has one track on this compilation, and then like there's one rockapella track. There's the one They Might Be Giants track, and I think all the rest of the tracks are that fucking bozo who like introduces the show at the beginning.
I do feel like, and to each their own, but if your last name is Thigpen and you're going into the entertainment industry, consider a pseudonym. That's all I'm saying. Thigpen is just way too close to Pigpen. It just doesn't work.
It just makes me think of a former White Sox closer.
It makes me think of Pigpen.
I got it.
Yes, in case it was unclear. So have you stuck with Frank Black throughout the years? Did you?
Nope.
You know, this was it pretty much after this, or what?
Let's see.
Cult of Ray?
Honeycomb, probably?
That's about where I dipped out with Honeycomb. I loved it, but I kind of, for whatever reason, just kind of stopped there. I didn't really even consciously do that. I just stopped.
Same, yeah. But I'm sure I'll get to it at some point, you know?
Yeah. Have you listened to any of the new Pixie stuff? I have not.
No, had a chance to see him live probably like 5 times in the past, however many years and just never went.
When they first reformed with Kim, I went and saw him then, and I'm really glad I did. But other than that, once they started releasing new material that I wasn't listening to, I'm like, oh, I don't know that I really want to go see him now.
Yeah.
Which is completely unfair because I haven't even listened to it. It could be amazing. But I was thinking, listening to this album today, in particular, it came across my mind that it's funny to me how Frank Black, like his music sounds very much like him. It's Frank Black's music. Pixies, even though they would not exist without him, clearly the other guys and Kim, when she was part of it, were doing a lot of work because I don't feel like they sound the exact same. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to like these albums, they don't feel like Pixies albums to me, just without, you know, the other people. They feel a lot more progressive and weird and like chaotic and erratic.
Definitely. I think this album does a better job of interweaving like the different styles that he experiments with. Because Pixies is less a spectrum and more like just outliers. You know, it's either going to be extremely this or extremely that, and it doesn't really meet in the middle anywhere for me.
Yeah, and typically Pixie songs are organized in a much more conventional way. Verse, chorus,
Sure.
verse, bridge, chorus, right? As opposed to his stuff where he's just like, I'm going to do what the fuck ever, when the fuck ever. I'm going to have 3 outros. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit he does, right?
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to say about this album?
That you're absolutely fucked if your right channel is out, because that's where most of the interesting guitar lives.
Good to know.
You always talk about BMG and Columbia type programs.
Mm-hmm.
I never had that experience exactly. I had a different one, which was when we moved to Hawaii. There are no antennas on the island for like broadcast television because antennas are ugly and Hawaii is gorgeous.
Okay.
So everything's buried. So you had to have cable TV or you had no TV. And my dad, of course, was like, well, that means no TV.
Right. I was going to say.
So he subscribed to like the Columbia House Club. I think you had to buy one at full price and then you got like 12 for a penny or something like that. And then like you could quit the program immediately.
Pretty much, yeah. But you got the cheap ones first, which was even dumber of them.
So yeah, that's what he did. And I guess he was trying to get his money's worth because like every movie was like 4 hours long. It was like Ben-Hur, Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia, Chariots of Fire. I was fucking 9 years old and me and my little brother was like 7. We watched the shit out of those movies. We were running around quoting like Ben-Hur and like, why did you do this, 41? Like, Bridge on the River Kwai, madness. Lawrence of Arabia, he will have a lemonade. Super intense O'Toole.
So you were at my house a lot in high school, and I was thinking about movies as well while we're on that subject. And do you remember what we watched? Do you have any recollection of like movies that we watched regularly at my house?
I just thought of one the other day because I just saw it and it reminded me, like, it took me right back to your living room, and I just hit play immediately. It was Trees Lounge.
Oh, man. That one, I don't know how well it holds up, the whole relationship between him and Chloe in 70. Like, it's like, holy shit. In the 90s, I didn't bat an eye to this, and now I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, Steve? Buscemi, not you.
I mean, between that and Kids and, like, Big Love and, like, whatever Vincent Gallo did to her, like, she
just had a career.
Yeah. No one can ever accuse her of not being, like, you know, just down for any role.
She's adventurous, I'll give her that.
Yeah. And never bad. I can't remember her being bad in anything.
Oh, no, she's good. She's a good actor. I was trying to think of, like, movies that we watched together, and I'm like, I couldn't think of, like, any. And I know that we watched a ton of shit. I remember watching the Spawn series with you regularly.
Spawn, yeah.
I do remember watching that regularly. I remember playing the fuck out of N64 GoldenEye.
Yep.
Right? We played that maybe more than anything else that we did when we hung out. I mean, I feel like that's, other than sitting on the porch and smoking cigarettes, that's probably what we did most, was play GoldenEye.
Yeah, I think we watched a shit ton of movies. I remember GoldenEye more of a Jimmy Takis basement activity.
Oh, well, we definitely played a lot at my house, too.
Yeah.
But I know we watched a lot of movies because, I mean...
It was everything we had from Blockbuster at the time. Like, there was a couple of years, there was like fucking, what, 4 or 5 of us?
Yeah.
We had Lascaux, we had Gibbons, Branstrom, you, me.
And then I had at my house, my mom's boyfriend when I was a kid had recorded a ton of movies. So I had a ton of recorded stuff like in my brother's closet. And then we had, by like late teenage years, we were like buying VHS regularly. So I had a couple big plastic spindles in my living room and like a bookshelf with movies and stuff. So we had so many movies, but like I tried, like maybe Twilight with Paul Newman. Like, I don't remember. I remember watching that for some reason.
We watched Nobody's Fool a lot.
Yeah, we definitely watched Nobody's Fool.
Love that movie. I watched that recently too. That's one of my favorite all-time movies. It was maybe top 5.
Really? One of your top 5 movies?
Oh yeah, it's so good.
It's such a great slice of lifer. It's like the best slice of life movie I can think of.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, Trees Lounge.
Yeah, exactly. With your weird pedo shit.
An ice cream truck, really?
Oh God, yeah. It's a creepy watch. It turns out.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack. Thank you, Hayden.
Girl of my dreams. I sure hope she is a teen.
Don't blame Mr. Desser. It's not his fault.
Oh, just other things we watched. We watched like all the Kevin Smith movies. We watched like Wag the Dog.
Yes, that was one we watched a lot.
Fuck. I mean, so many. I think we probably watched Chinatown 3 times. Like,
I did have a box copy of that, I think.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I don't think I've watched it a ton, but I do believe I own that one.
Speaking of Los Angeles water rights.
So I think, like, when I think back to the 90s in movies, like, remember Suncoast? Remember Suncoast in the mall? There was like the...
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of a movie called Suncoast, and I was like, not ringing a bell.
It was like a retail store, and they sold VHS tapes before DVDs were even like a thing.
I totally remember them.
Yeah, and it was like the only place you could go to get Letterboxd movies, and that was such a big deal. I remember I had like Unforgiven on Letterboxd. I'm like, oh.
Which was badass, and we watched the shit out of that.
We watched the shit out of that one. I remember that. What else did I have in Letterboxd? Casino. I think I had that in Letterboxd. There's a couple that I was like, I gotta get this one in Letterboxd. It was such a big deal back then to like be able to get it in like this full format.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going back to pan and scan now? Oh God.
No, I can't. And I remember like every time we would sit down, it was the fucking golden age of pan and scan. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting down, and if it started doing the pan and scan while we were watching something, like there would be times where you just be like, it's not worth it.
Yep, let's turn it off. We'll find something else.
Yep. Those were mostly things that, like, you know, we would take home from Blockbuster on our, like, employee freebies or whatever.
Right.
The ones we watched over and over again were the ones we bought, like, you know, for, like, $4.99 plus employee discount and brought them home and watched them over and over again.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Mallrats and Clerks.
Yep, a lot of staying up to, like, 5, 6 in the morning watching movies we've seen, like, 20 times already.
Yeah.
And, that was how we lived after high school, pretty much, and some during.
And I still haven't really stopped.
Well, thanks for coming back on, man. We talked NoFX last time. Now we've talked Frank Black. We're getting around in some genres. I hope you come back and maybe talk about something that didn't come out in 93, 94 if you want, or something that did, whatever you want to. But do come back.
I thought you had to join the Three Timers Club.
You will next time you come back. It'll be your 3rd time.
All right. Well, anyone claim There's Nothing Wrong with Love yet?
No, but that was 93 anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, but yeah, no, it's all yours. I would love to do that album.
Yeah, I would love to do it too.
All right, let's say our goodbyes because you and I are going to continue our conversation off the air. You see my message to Andrew?
No, when I'm podcasting, I shut my phone off.
Oh, Andrew will be joining us.
Nice.
We'll hook up with him after here. But yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Bye-bye.
Kill your own kind.
Absolutely a delight to have my good friend Steve Guile back on the show. It had been almost a year, or maybe even over a year, since he'd been on, which was a mistake. He's got to come back on sooner for his 3rd time, I hope. Definitely enjoy getting any time with him, and I appreciate him taking the time to talk Frank Black with me. You too could be talking with me about some band, if you wanted to, some album from 93 or 94. I'm pretty open to whatever. Just let me know what you want to do. Perhaps you want to do, I don't know, Iggy Pop's solo album from 1993 called American Caesar.
I've been hungry, way down in my heart, waiting for a reason.
is the song Beside You from that album, which I totally had. I haven't listened to it probably since the mid-90s. It's not one I spent a lot of time with, but it'd be fun to revisit. So email me at 9394podcast@gmail.com. Or, again, it doesn't have to be Iggy Pop. It could be any musician, any album from the era that I haven't already done. If you want to come on the show or you know somebody who'd be a good fit, let me know. Oh, one more thing. I totally ended up watching Three Body Problem based on, I guess, Steve's recommendation during this show. I kind of thought my other friend Amanda had recommended it, but at any rate, I watched it and thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely recommend it. So thank you, Steve, for dropping that little nugget into my head while we were doing this episode. Oh, yeah, please rate, review the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, for instance, click the little thumbs up button. Takes about a second. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, you could hit the little, 5-star button. Or whatever platform you're on, please give me a little boost if you would. It would be appreciated. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you listening more than anything else. Take care. '93-'94, a music podcast with Travis Roy, is a labor of love. It is not and never will be monetized. Please don't sue.